Let me ask you a question that matters. A question for those who have moved beyond simply collecting information and have begun the real work. Have you ever felt a profound truth land in your soul? A moment of clarity so pure it reorients your entire world, only to watch it dissolve into thin air the moment you try to put it into words. You feel this incredible impulse to share, to explain, to make others see what you now see. It feels like an act of generosity. But what if I told you it is the single most effective way to sabotage your own growth? What if the greatest act of reverence for a newfound truth is not to announce it, but to guard it with your silence? Here is the law of spiritual energy that is rarely taught. A breakthrough is fragile. Your newfound clarity is like a crystal forming in super saturated water. It requires absolute stillness, the slightest disturbance. A single word spoken out of a need for validation can shatter the delicate process, leaving you with nothing but cloudy water. We speak because our ego craves an audience. It wants a witness to its transformation. It wants a round of applause for having figured it out. But genuine wisdom is not a performance. It is a slow, silent integration. It is forged in the quiet furnace of your own being, not in the echo chamber of others' opinions. There is a deep ache that comes with true sight, a loneliness that settles in when you realize you no longer speak the same language as those around you. The things that animate them now feel like noise to you. The goals they chase seem hollow. You will outgrow rooms you once fought to enter, and in that sacred isolation, the temptation to explain yourself, to justify your new path, will be immense. It will feel like a lifeline. But that lifeline is a trap. Your silence is your anchor, because in that silence, you are no longer auditioning for a part in someone else's play. You are living your own truth. The power of your evolution is not measured by the number of people who understand it. It is measured by the depth of your embodiment. You must keep your mouth shut, not because the truth is a secret to be hoarded, but because a sacred process must be protected from contamination. A day will come when you observe the world and see how cheaply words are used, how people give away their power, their focus, and their peace by constantly narrating their journey instead of walking it. You will understand that access to your inner world is not a right. It is a privilege earned through resonance. Not everyone has earned a front row seat to your soul's becoming. Some are still content in the theater you have already walked out of. To hand them a script of your next act is to invite critique from an audience that cannot comprehend the play. Their journey is not your journey, and you are not here to be a narrator. You are here to become the story itself. Evolution is a quiet affair. It happens in the moments you choose integrity over impulse, peace over provocation, depth over drama. These are the bricks that build an unshakable foundation. Not the moments you explain, but the moments you choose. So when you next feel that seismic shift inside, that aha moment that redefines everything, that truth pressing to be spoken, stop. Breathe, ask yourself, is this for them to hear, or is this for me to become? Almost always, the answer is the latter. You owe it to yourself to let that truth marinate, to let it soak into your bones and change the very way you move through the world. Because when it is fully integrated, when it is no longer an idea, but a part of your cellular reality, you won't need to say a thing. Your calm will be the explanation. Your choices will be the sermon. Your presence will be the teaching. That is how you stop leaking power. That is how you become whole. You stop treating your growth like a news report and start living it like a law of nature. The most profound truth, once you truly grasp it, is this: say nothing. There is a subtle physics to this universe that operates outside our normal understanding. It's a law that must be lived to be known. And the law is this: wisdom spoken before it is embodied is wisdom lost. Not because the truth itself is weak, but because your vessel is not yet strong enough to hold it. When you first experience a major insight, it's like a flash of lightning that illuminates the entire landscape of your life. The past, the pain, the patterns, They all click into place within a larger, coherent design. The desire to share this map is overwhelming. But this is the critical lesson. Not every map is ready to be published. Truth is like a molten metal. If you try to shape it with bare hands, you will be burned. The initial flash of insight is not the final sword. It is merely the raw ore. To speak of it prematurely is to cool it too quickly, leaving it brittle and useless. Your words are not just sounds, they are conduits of energy, and they carry the weight of responsibility. When you speak on a truth you have not yet fully metabolized through your actions, you are like an artist describing a masterpiece they have only imagined. The colors will be off. The perspective will be flawed, and anyone who tries to find that masterpiece based on your description will be disappointed. The practice of silence following a realization is not about deprivation, it's an incubation. It protects you, giving your mind, body, and habits time to catch up to what your spirit has glimpsed. It protects the insight itself, allowing it to grow from a fragile seedling of thought into a mighty oak of character. Until your daily choices consistently reflect your breakthrough, it is not your truth. It is just a beautiful idea, and ideas are vulnerable. They are influenced not just by our inner conviction, but by the winds of external opinion. When you offer a profound realization to someone who is not seeking it, it might feel generous, but it is actually a profound spiritual risk. You are placing your delicate, nascent growth into the hands of someone who cannot feel its sacredness. They will measure it with their own limited ruler, question it, or dismiss it. If you are not yet rooted, their skepticism can become your own, causing you to doubt the very clarity you once cherished. In this way, the ego masterfully cloaks its need for validation in the guise of helping others. But the truly wise do not rush to the podium. They let their life become the lecture. True mastery is never loud. A tree does not shout for attention as it bears fruit. It simply does its work, quietly, patiently, powerfully. Those who need its shade will be drawn to it. In the same way, your transformation will become undeniable over time through the way you carry yourself, the way you navigate challenges, the way you give without needing acknowledgement. This presence will communicate more than any declaration ever could. You must understand this. Some people are invested in your stagnation because it validates their own. If you announce your newfound freedom in a room full of people committed to their cages, they will instinctively try to convince you that the bars are for your own good. It is often not from malice, but from fear. Your light reminds them of their own darkness. Your flight reminds them of their own inertia. So they will challenge you, not because you are wrong, but because they are terrified that you might be right. And if your roots are not yet deep, their resistance will make you tremble. This is why silence must be your first discipline, not a permanent vow, but a temporary shield, just long enough for your insight to harden into unshakable strength. Speak only when your words no longer require applause. Share only when your peace cannot be stolen by disagreement. At that point, you are no longer trying to persuade. You are simply being. There is one more layer. When you hold your insights in stillness, you give them permission to work on you from the inside out. They begin to recalibrate you in subtle ways, the way you listen, the way you eat, the way you walk away from arguments that once hooked you. These are the quiet mechanics of real change. They are unglamorous. They seek no audience. But they are the foundation of a new you. Those around you will feel this shift. They may not have the words for it, but they will sense a new gravity in you, a quiet confidence, a centeredness. That is the unmistakable energy of a person who has found something real and held it long enough to become it. So, the next time a profound truth dawns on you, resist the urge to post, to call, to explain. Let your stillness be its container. Let your silence be its nutrient. Let your actions be its voice. And in time, when the seed has become a forest, you will find you don't need to speak at all. People will come to you not for your opinions, but for your peace. And when you do speak, They will hang on every word, not because you are loud, but because they had to lean in to hear you. That is real power. That is knowing when to say nothing. There is a painful but liberating truth that marks a point of no return on any spiritual path. Not everyone is meant to travel with you. Not everyone has the ears to hear the frequency you now broadcast on. And not everyone has the strength to look at the light you now carry. When a deep wisdom is granted to you, it feels like a universal key. But the fundamental error is assuming it will fit everyone else's locks. It won't. Especially if they are comfortable in their own self-imposed prisons. Especially if they are invested in the very illusions that this wisdom was meant to shatter. The nature of truth is to disrupt. It challenges comfort zones, it demands accountability, it insists on growth. And growth is often painful. So when you offer truth to those who are not ready, it will not be seen as a gift. It will be seen as an attack. Picture a group of people who have been living in a cave their entire lives. Their eyes are perfectly adjusted to the dim light. Their reality is defined by the shadows on the wall. Then you, having been outside and seen the sun, run back in with a powerful torch. You think you are bringing them illumination. You believe you are sharing the gift of sight. But to them, you are a menace. Your light is blindingly painful. It doesn't liberate them, it terrifies them, because it threatens to destroy the only world they have ever known. On the path of growth, timing is not just important, it is everything. A truth offered before its time is a kindness that feels like a cruelty. This is why wisdom requires immense patience. When you grasp something transformative, your primary duty is not to proselytize. It is to integrate. Your job is to live that truth so completely that your life becomes the evidence. Because if someone is not actively looking for a way out of the cave, your descriptions of the sun will just sound like madness. This becomes acutely painful when it's the people you love who choose to remain in the cave. You desperately want them to see what you see, to feel the freedom you feel. But you cannot drag someone into the light. The journey of awakening is a choice that must be made from within. It must be earned, not received. A flower cannot teach a bud how to bloom. It can only stand in its own magnificent bloom as an example. Trying to share your deepest insights with the wrong person is like trying to pour water into a clenched fist. No matter how pure the water, it cannot be received where there is no openness. And if you keep trying, you will only exhaust your own resources and leave feeling frustrated, misunderstood, and alone. The pain you feel is not a sign that your truth is false. It is a sign that you have offered your treasure to someone who does not recognize its value. There is also a subtle ego trap in believing it is your responsibility to fix or awaken others. It is not. Awakening is an inside job. No matter how eloquently you speak, your words cannot penetrate a mind that is closed. You may want to shake people into awareness, to show them the map out of their suffering. But until they are ready to ask for directions, your map will be seen as an insult, or worse, they will tear it up and use it to mock you. This is where silence becomes an act of profound respect. When you stay quiet, you are not withholding a cure. You are honoring the truth's sacred power. You are saying, this is not a toy. This is not a debate topic. This is a powerful medicine, and I will not force. Feed it to someone who is not sick. Let your presence be the sermon. Let the quiet joy in your eyes spark their curiosity. Let your unshakable peace be a disruptive force in their world of chaos, not through argument, but simply by existing. People do not follow words, they follow energy. When you embody a powerful truth, it changes you. It changes your posture, your voice, your priorities. People will notice. And when the time is right, when their own suffering becomes unbearable, they will come to you. They will ask. And when they ask from a place of genuine seeking, the door is open. Only then can your words land and take root. This is how real transformation spreads, not by force, but by resonance. You live your truth so quietly and so fully that it becomes a magnetic field. Those who are ready to rise will feel its pull. Until then, protect your treasure. Keep it in the sanctuary of your own heart. Let it mature within you before you ever bring it into the light of day. The world may not be ready for you, but you must be ready for yourself. If you try to convince others before your own foundation is rock solid, you risk being pulled back into the very consciousness you fought so hard to escape. And that is the quiet tragedy of sharing too soon. Your truth is real, but if your grasp on it is still new, the wrong environment will break it. Hold it close, let silence make you strong, and trust that when they are ready, they will not need you to shout. They will hear your silence. There is a vast difference between force and power. Force is loud, reactive, and needs to prove itself. Power is quiet, contained, and knows itself. This is the distinction that many on the path of growth fail to grasp. They mistake being loud for being strong, being right for being wise. But true power, the kind that can weather any storm and reshape a life from the inside out, is silent. It is composed. It has nothing to prove because its proof is in its being. When you encounter a person who has truly walked through fire, who has faced their own demons and integrated their own shadows, you will notice they are not in a hurry. They are not desperate to be understood. Their presence has a certain gravity, not because they are heavy, but because they are anchored. That is restraint. And restraint is the hallmark of someone who has not just acquired power, but has mastered it. We are conditioned to live in a world of performance. Our conversations, our careers, our online lives are all stages. Everyone is broadcasting. Few are receiving. Everyone is projecting an image, but so little of it is rooted in authentic depth. It's a hurricane of noise. And in the eye of that hurricane are the ones with real power, the quiet ones. The ones who know that some things are too sacred for the marketplace of opinion, that wisdom is not a commodity to be flaunted. It is a flame to be tended. You see, restraint is not a sign of weakness or passivity. It is the signature of a trained mind. It is the ability to feel the pull of an old reaction, the urge to correct, to defend, to argue, and to consciously choose stillness instead. It is the capacity to sit with discomfort, yours or someone else's, without needing to fix it. That is not weakness. That is mastery. The moment you feel the compulsion to prove your worth, you have already outsourced it to your audience. And that is not power. It is neediness disguised as confidence. There is a profound discipline in letting your truth live inside you without needing external validation. Some lessons are meant to be embodied, not just articulated. When you have a life-altering realization, the ego's first impulse is to turn it into a story to tell others. But wisdom is a practice, not a story. It must first be digested and woven into the fabric of your behavior. Think of a master artisan. The most skilled craftspeople are not the ones who boast about their technique. They are the ones whose hands move with a quiet, confident grace. Why? They don't need to talk about their skill. They have become it. Their restraint is the natural byproduct of thousands of hours of focused, disciplined, often frustrating work. They have learned that power is not in what you can display, but in what you can command within yourself. This same principle governs inner wisdom. The more you know, the less you need to say. The deeper your peace, the less you are disturbed by the chaos of others. You stop needing to win arguments. You stop needing to have the last word. You can let people misunderstand you, underestimate you, or even dismiss you because you have cultivated a truth within you that is not subject to their vote. That is real power. Silent, centered, sovereign. But restraint does more than just protect your energy. It multiplies it. Every time you choose silence when it would be easier to react, every time you choose presence when the world demands a performance, you are conditioning your inner self for greater strength. Instead of dissipating your energy outward in a frantic attempt to convince, you channel it inward to build. And with each conscious act of restraint, your awareness becomes sharper. You begin to see with stunning clarity who is safe for your energy and who is not, what battle is worth fighting and what is a distraction. This clarity becomes your guide. It informs your actions, which are no longer driven by fleeting emotions, but by deep intention. You stop being a reaction to the world and start being a deliberate expression of your soul. In philosophies the world over, restraint has always been the highest sign of inner development. It meant your inner peace was non-negotiable. You no longer allowed external events or other people's behavior to knock you off your center. And the most potent aspect of this state is that it's palpable. Others feel it. It may confuse them. It may even intimidate them, but they feel it. And over time, they will begin to treat you with a different kind of respect. Not because you demanded it, but because your quiet power made them curious. They will begin to wonder what you know that they don't. And when they are finally ready to ask, you won't need to persuade them of anything. You will simply speak, and your words will have the force of a tidal wave because you waited, because you honored the truth enough to guard it, and because you did not waste your power trying to show it off before its time. That is the walk of quiet power. That is knowing the secret and having the strength to keep your mouth shut. There comes a moment in every journey of maturation when the most powerful move you can make is to say nothing. Not from a lack of words, but from a deep understanding that silence itself is a form of communication. And when wielded with wisdom, it is more potent than any argument, more definitive than any explanation, and more protective than any defense. Silence is not the absence of power, it is the containment of it. In the early days of self-awareness, the compulsion to share is almost overwhelming. We want to pour out every new insight, every feeling, every connection we've made. We are a cup overflowing. But as we continue, we learn a crucial lesson. Not everyone has the capacity to drink what we are offering. Not everyone is ready for the depth we have fought so hard to find. And critically, not every space is worthy of our sacred truths. That is when silence graduates from a passive state to an active choice, a choice made from discernment, not from fear. In silence, you are forced to confront your own motives. Are you speaking to truly serve, or are you speaking because your ego needs to be seen as wise? Are you trying to win, or are you trying to connect? Are you willing to protect your own inner peace above the need to be right? Silence forces a level of self-inquiry that speech allows you to bypass. When you strip away the noise of justifying and explaining, all that is left is the raw truth of your intention. And sitting with that, without the distraction of forming your next sentence, is where real integrity is built. There is an ancient power in stillness. The world scrambles, shouts, reacts, and performs. But you observe, you feel, you understand. You learn to listen to the silence between the words. You begin to perceive the agendas, the fears, and the unspoken needs that drive conversation. Your perception becomes incredibly sharp. This is not a mystical gift, it is a skill, and it is forged in the discipline of silence. Consider the apex predator in nature. Its power is not in its roar, but in its silent, patient observation. It remains still, grounded, conserving its energy, waiting for the precise moment to act. Its strike is effective not because it is loud, but because it is perfectly timed. The same is true in life. When you master the art of silence, you no longer waste your energy. You speak with intention, and your silence becomes just as intentional. In your relationships, your quiet presence can be a greater gift than your advice. Sometimes people don't need you to fix their problems. They need you to hold a safe space for them to hear their own inner voice. By not rushing in with solutions, you empower them to find their own. That kind of silence is an act of profound respect. It says, I trust you to navigate your own journey, just as I am navigating mine. And when it comes to your own pain, silence can be the ultimate sanctuary. You do not need to perform your healing for it to be valid. You do not need an audience for your struggle to be real. The deepest transformations often occur in the quiet moments when you sit with yourself without any external input and simply allow. You allow the pain, you allow the confusion, you allow the uncertainty. In that stillness, you give the fractured parts of yourself the space to mend. Silence also creates a protective shield around your vision. The more you talk about your goals and dreams, the more you expose them to the energetic weather of other people's doubt, envy, or well-meaning but misguided advice. There is immense power in building in private. Let your success be the announcement. Let your peace be the statement. When you hold your intentions close, they are not diluted by public opinion. They are nourished by your own focused purpose. And finally, silence is the ultimate teacher of patience. Life will constantly bait you. People will provoke you. Circumstances will arise that scream for an immediate reaction. But in silence, you learn to pause, to observe, to respond from a place of centered strength, not emotional reflex. This doesn't mean you become passive. It means that when you do speak, your words land with the force of truth, because they have been tempered in the forge of silence. This is the secret so many miss. They think power must be loud, that wisdom must be articulated, that truth must be shouted to be heard. But those who have gone deep enough know better. They know that silence is not empty. It is full. It is full of your strength, your discernment, your power. It is your boundary. It is your sanctuary. It is your weapon. So once you know something, truly, deeply know it. Resist the impulse to prove it. Instead, live it. Embody it. Let your actions be its voice. Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more people with the courage to be silent until what they have to say truly matters. Until then, let your silence speak for you. The final destination on the path of wisdom is not a place of knowing more, but a place of being more. It is a state carved from silence, built with restraint, and earned in solitude. Once you have arrived here, once you have felt the profound, unshakable power that resides in stillness, the need to prove yourself to the world simply evaporates. The desire for validation that once drove you seems like a distant memory. The battles you once thought were so important now seem like a waste of sacred energy. You just are. And this state of being is cultivated in the moments when no one is watching. In the quiet discipline of the early morning before the world makes its demands. In the honest reflection of the late night when you assess your day, not with judgment, but with a desire for refinement. It is built in your patience. It is built in the choice to respond with grace when you could have reacted with force. It is built in the words you swallow, the arguments you walk away from, the pain you process internally instead of projecting externally. There is a quiet authority that emanates from a person who no longer needs to be loud. It is rooted. It is solid. It doesn't rise with praise or fall with criticism. It isn't dependent on being seen, because it is anchored in a deep internal knowing. The one who holds their truth in silence is not being selfish. They are being reverent. They are honoring the sacredness of what they have earned, because that is what true insight is earned. It is earned through experience, through failure, through difficult choices, and through the quiet grit of perseverance. And the more profound the truth, the less you want to treat it casually. You respect its weight. You understand that wisdom is not a decorative object for display. It is a transformative force. And before it can transform anyone else, it must first be allowed to fully transform you. So you hold it inside. You let it temper your reactions. You let it clarify your vision. You let it humble your ego. And you let it become your internal compass, a guide that remains true even in the most disorienting storms. You stop looking outside for confirmation because you have learned to hear the answers in your own silence. And in that silence, there is a profound peace. Not the peace that comes from a perfect life, but the peace that comes from no longer needing life to be perfect. It is a peace that remains steady when people misinterpret you, doubt you, or challenge your path. You don't engage because your energy has become too precious. Your inner state is no longer open for public debate. You do not give it away so easily. And that is when everything changes. Not because the world around you is different, but because you are. And your new state, though quiet, is impossible to ignore. You move differently. You listen differently. Your decisions come from a place of deep alignment, not from a place of need. You invest your energy with precision, and you guard your silence with ferocity. You do not allow the noise of the world to become the noise in your heart. You have become still. And in your stillness, you have become a force. People will feel this long before they can articulate it. They won't know why your presence is calming, why your words, though few, carry so much weight, why your lack of reactivity feels like a superpower. It's because you have done the work that most people avoid. You have gone inward. You have sat in the silence long enough to know that not every thought needs to be spoken. Not every battle needs to be fought. Some truths are for you and you alone. So when the world tries to pull you back into its drama, when it dangles the bait of applause or the thrill of an argument, remember your purpose. You are not here to make a point. You are here to be a presence, a clear, anchored, and authentic presence. And sometimes the most authentic thing you can do is say nothing at all. Let your life be the evidence of what you know. Let your actions be the sermon. Let your silence be so profound that it teaches more than your words ever could. That is how you earn respect without ever asking for it. That is how you create change without force. That is how you protect your power and continue to grow uninterrupted. Because once you've found that inner truth, once you've tasted a clarity that cannot be bought or broken, you understand that you must guard it, not from the world, but for yourself, so it can continue its quiet, powerful work of forging you into who you were always meant to be. In a world obsessed with being heard, choose the power of listening. In a world addicted to motion, choose the courage of stillness. And in a world desperate for attention, choose the quiet path of becoming so real, they will feel you long before they ever hear you.